right, let's come to the big story that the world is tracking. A Bloomberg report has put together data from 67 countries to track the rate at which these nations are being vaccinated. Now, let me give you some context. Experts like Dr. Fauci believe that you need to vaccinate up to 75% of the population to put an end to COVID-19 and gain herd immunity. Now, the Bloomberg report says that at the rate that the world is vaccinating right now, the year will take 7 years to get rid of COVID-19. Now, this is not set in stone and clearly is unacceptable. So, it urges countries to vaccinate faster. Of course, the circumstances will change as more and more vaccine candidates come into the fore. If there are candidates like the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which requires only 1 dose to vaccinate, it will definitely speed up the process. Now, in the middle of this, an important data point which has come to the fore today and which has been announced by the Ministry of Health is that India has become the fastest country to vaccinate 5 million people. That's just in 21 days. The US took 24 days to do the same, UK took 43 days, and Israel took 45 days. The problem, though, is at the size of India's population, it's but a drop in the ocean. So now if I look at doses per 100 people, India is at 0.36. And that is nearly not enough. Remember, if we had to vaccinate 75% of our population, how much time would that take? And those are serious concerns which are now cropping up. Dr. Ramanan Laxminarayan is joining us now to speak more about this. Dr. Ramanan, great to have you on the show. Your first take on the pace of vaccination and whether it should be a cause of concern. While India is vaccinating an average of 3 lakh people a day, is it nearly fast enough?
So, Tamanna, thanks. That's a really important question. We are vaccinating at about 2 million people a week. I prefer to pick weekly targets because if you look at the daily numbers, they fluctuate a lot. But on average, per week, we're doing about 2 million. But remember, we're just starting. So this number could easily go to 2, 3, 4 times this number, over the course of the next few weeks. I have little doubt that India will be able to roll out these vaccines because they don't require, sub-zero temperatures. They need to be kept only in refrigerators, and a fair amount of planning has already gone into this vaccination in terms of being able to deliver it. And generally, India has been good at these sorts of campaign vaccinations in the past. That's why we were strong at polio. That's why we've been strong at measles catch-up campaigns. So I think India will fare better than average in terms of vaccination. Certainly, countries like the US have faced significant challenges in getting vaccines out, which is a combination of issues like having a vaccine that needs to be stored at very low temperatures, but also of not being organized for taking on sort of, an immediate task of vaccinating lots of people. And that system is just not geared for that sort of an activity. I wouldn't put India in that same bucket at all.
Yeah, so in India's context, what really is the concern of the scale? So we have the experience of vaccinating on scale with polio and our other vaccination programs. We don't seem to have any major shortage of vaccines right now. One really big thing working for us is that our vaccines are homegrown. The prices are also not that high. And it's not like we don't have enough dosage. So where is our problem coming from? Is it still vaccine hesitancy?
No, we won't hit vaccine hesitancy for a long time because remember, vaccine hesitancy is a different phenomenon in other countries compared to what it is for India. So in other countries, people actually are concerned about the safety of the vaccine. India, there is some issue of it with healthcare workers, but by and large, there's a lot of people just waiting to get the vaccine who are standing in line. I suspect that if you opened up centers, I know lots of people who are ready to get vaccinated. They just don't have an opportunity to get vaccinated right now.
So what is the way to go forward, Dr. Ramanan? Would you suggest that the private sector be roped in?
I think that the private sector should be roped in, and in fact, in some instances, they already are. I think we'll find that the vaccination, even with the government system, is going to grow up quite fast. But with the private sector jumping in, things could make a big difference.
One other question is, do we really need to vaccinate 75% of our population? First of all, these figures of herd immunity have constantly changed in the last year. It started at about 60%, if I remember correctly. Now it's at 75% of our population. Considering serosurveillance studies are showing more and more Indians have perhaps already had COVID and have developed antibodies, do we really need to vaccinate that large a part of the population?
Right. So I think that we will need to vaccinate about 50% of the population for sure. We will get there over a period of time. Certainly the fact that herd immunity is built up because of exposure to the virus helps us a great deal. But please keep in mind that even if you've been exposed, it is best to get the vaccine. So we do need the vaccination because exposure doesn't necessarily confer full immunity. It really requires getting that vaccine. So I think we still need to get to that number. But we certainly have more time because the level of herd immunity is higher at this point in time in India compared to most other countries.
Well, we need to speed up the process for sure, and perhaps roping in the private sector could be one way to go about it. Thank you so much, Dr. Ramanan, for speaking with us today. We'll take a very short break on the India development debate, but don't go anywhere. India Revival Mission up next.